Pre-season is nearly done. Arsenal are back at the Emirates looking to take on Villarreal and get a glimpse of Victor Gyökeres. This is today's Arsenal Transfer Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show. Join you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time-ish, kind of. Honestly, I sit down some days, I check the chat and I'm like, it's like 8:02. And it's just people whinging. Where's the show? Why has he not started yet? He's always late. I'll do this for free for you guys. Come on. You got to cut me a bit of slack here. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. It's not like we're not a broadcast company. I'm just one man. You got to cut me some slack, people. Good morning to Barry, to James, to Jose, to Matt, to Colin. Good morning to Glenn and Black Shine. Barry, good morning to Brian and Z. We've got Morgan in the chat box as well. Trevor, Naz. We've got Martin. We've got Claire and Steve and Steve. Stephen and Steve. Steve and Stephen. Amber Lee, Grantley Poos, good morning to you all. Shari, Graham, Mark Rice, Franz, Graham in the chat box as well. Chanor, I can see Black Shine, lovely stuff. So many of you, as always, tuning in and listening, which is always great to see. And Ken's been a member with us now for 32 months. Incredible commitment and support to the channel. Thank you, Ken. And thank you to the rest of you always for listening. And those of listening on catch up, of course, too. Greatly appreciate you listening. Akinyemi says, "What shirt?" It's not a shirt. It's a jacket. Is what it is this morning. We didn't go shirt today. We're starting to move out of summer. Starting to move into kind of jacket season. Got to decide what. I'm not going to be wearing shorts to the Emirates later. That's for sure. I think we've moved into potentially jeans territory. I think now. I think we're in jeans territory. But yes, it's good. And underneath. Polo and Bryson, if you don't know Polo and Bryson, are a fantastic drum and bass duo. Go and check out their brand new album. It is excellent. So go and give it a listen. Let's jump into today. At least it fits, says Daniel. Yes, indeed. Thanks for that. Let's jump into today's stories, shall we? And jump into what is going on in the world of Arsenal. Arsenal, of course, taking on Villarreal in their penultimate pre-season friendly of the summer. Villarreal, of course, formerly managed by Unai Emery, returned to the Emirates for the first time since that infamous Europa League semi-final fixture that saw Arsenal fall to Unai Emery. But they are a side that will provide a good test for Arsenal and hopefully give Arsenal the opportunity to familiarise themselves again playing at the Emirates and get some players an opportunity to play there for the first time, of course, in their careers. In terms of kind of like well-known players in the group, you'll probably be aware of Dani Parejo, 36-year-old central midfielder and a key figure in that team. Denis Suarez, you also might be aware of. First time I think he returns to the Emirates since leaving the club when he was there on loan. Juan Foyth used to play for Tottenham, so there's that North London rivalry also coming back into the folds. Arnau Danjuma, you'll probably remember as well from his time at Spurs and Everton. Gerard Moreno, of course, veteran centre forwards. And there is a certain Nicolas Pepe also who plays for Villarreal. The first time Nicolas Pepe might be returning to Arsenal. So yeah, that's something to look out for, isn't it? And a couple of exciting players, of course, who have been linked with Arsenal in the past. Yeremy Pino, right winger, of course, as well. Though I'm pretty sure he's available. He did suffer a serious injury recently in the previous season, so unsure if he's yet back and fit. And also there is Alberto Melero, 21-year-old left winger, very highly rated, and would be on the list of a lot of clubs around Europe as well. And another one, Jose Perez, of course, formerly of Newcastle and Leicester City, I believe, as well. So, yeah, a lot of former Premier League players, a couple of Arsenal players as well in that side. So there's some links between the two teams. But the main headlines of the game, of course, are the chance to see Victor Gyökeres at the Emirates for the first time, alongside the likes of Martin Zubimendi, Christian Norgard, and potentially Noni Madueke, who we'll come on to very shortly. But we need to talk about the latest in terms of team news. Calafiori and Leandro Trossard were both not pictured in Arsenal training yesterday. Arsenal released a number of images of the training drills that were going on Monday. First training drills back, of course, since they returned from Asia, but still no sign of Calafiori or Trossard, which is obviously a bit of a concern, considering especially that Trossard is being linked with a move away from Arsenal. So, yeah, I mean, the facial expression of Trossard on the screen probably sums up kind of how we're feeling about that one right now, which isn't particularly great. However, there were a few boosts and quite a considerable one as well, which we'll talk about. But Jurrien Timber continues to return as well. And he is looking likely to be involved very, very soon with the club, which is a big benefit to Arsenal, a big benefit to the club. And certainly we want to see Timber back in an Arsenal shirt and playing very, very soon to be ready for that game at Manchester United. Of course, a Man United team that could include Benjamin Sesko, because David Ornstein reporting this morning that RB Leipzig have accepted their 82.5 plus 2.5 million euro bid. They accepted an 82.5 plus 2.5 bid from Newcastle, but the striker apparently wants Manchester United, but they haven't agreed a fee yet. But the deal is advancing towards a conclusion. So, Gyökeres versus Sesko on the opening day of the season, anybody? Certainly very interesting indeed. The narrative writes itself, doesn't it? That is, that's quite the narrative. So Man United have a brand new front three, of course, and Burmo, Sesko, and Cunha, their new front three. And the likes of Garnacho look like they're leaving. But Timber hopefully will be involved in that game if he can work his way back to fitness, as hopefully will, and ignore the text on the screen. I'll sort that out while I'm talking. But Gabriel also back in training, and really good to see Gabriel there because, it's been a worrying time, not having him available to us and not being in the squad, and especially because it looked like he was going to be back and then sadly wasn't for those games in Asia. But now he is back in training, as you can see. He was doing ball work, he was doing drills, he was involved fully from the looks of things as well. So, yes, certainly a positive to see Gabriel involved there alongside Gyökeres, of course, in that image that you can see on your screen. Of course, David Price and Stuart McFarlane did some excellent work on the training ground with some of the fixtures here. So certainly a big positive for Gabriel to be back. A huge boost. And hopefully he will be in the squad over maybe the weekend. I'll be surprised if he was involved today, but maybe, who knows? Maybe he'll be there. But maybe against Athletic Club. And then, of course, Manchester United the following weekend. Another boost is that Kepa is also back, spotted in training in the winning team alongside Gabriel from the training session that took place. He had a minor issue, of course, suffered between the games of Newcastle and Spurs, which meant he missed the game against our North London rivals. But he's back and involved in the squad as well. And another boost was the inclusion of Noni Madueke. He is also in the squad and could be part of the team today, could be in the team. So, yeah, that's another exciting addition, and we might be able to see our brand new signing involved for the first time. So that is another big positive. But our final glimpses are really around transfers, and Oliver Glasner has been speaking to the media ahead of the start of the new season. The Crystal Palace manager, of course, has really been subject to something of a mess at Palace. Palace, alongside Newcastle, really have suffered some horrendous moves in the window, or lack of moves in the case of Palace. Palace haven't signed really anybody, and yet they still, of course, could lose Eze. And speaking recently, Oliver Glasner did in some way hint about a potential exit of Emirates Eze. Speaking to the media recently, he said, Crystal Palace, we haven't made the most of the transfer window so far. I was promised that we would be more active and bring in new players earlier this year. As of now, I have 17 outfield players. I hope we don't lose any more. If that happens, which could be a bit of a Eze hint, and we get 4 new ones on deadline day like last year, it'll be another full start being possible. Ed Aaron's reporting that from Kronen Zeitung, that was reported a few days ago now. So, yeah, they are in a bit of a mess, but he has hinted towards maybe another exit. And of course, we're all waiting to see if that exit is indeed Gabriel Eze. But Arsenal continue to be in talks with Stuttgart over a deal for Fabio Vieira, which could help move along. But there was some reports yesterday that Arsenal are said to want around 30 million euros for Fabio Vieira, and Stuttgart aren't really willing to pay anything more than 20 million euros. I said if Arsenal got 70 million pounds, I'd be relatively all right with that. But Andrea Berta is driving a hard bargain and trying to get around 26 million pounds instead for Fabio Vieira, which would be very impressive if, of course, he managed to do it. So let's wait and say. Shut up, Claire. No, it's not Frankfurt, it's Stuttgart. Anyway, let's go to part 2. Your questions and more right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show, which of course is the part of the show where we jump into the chat box, tackle some of your questions. If you've got questions you'd like to throw in and ask, now is the time to do so. If you use a big capital Q, it really does help them stand out. Thank you so much for all of you that helped us to reach 1,000 likes, of course, on yesterday's video and the video of the day before. We did it comfortably yesterday. In fact, we went so hard on the likes yesterday. We reached 2.3 thousand likes, which is crazy. You are awesome. I'm always kind of saying to you how we try and stay as humble as we can about likes. I don't want to push you too hard. We like doing the 1K every day challenge, but all of you are like, well, we can't have that again. We can't get into a situation where we're having likes not reach the boundary. So we're going to doubly click this. I'm going to get friends and family and grandpas and grandnans. Grandpas and grandnans. That's the way it's said, isn't it? To get it liked. Unbelievable. 2K every day, says Spearman. We're not going to be that greedy. But if you could help us on our way to 1K every day and today as well, that would be greatly appreciated. But thank you to the over 2,000 of you that dropped likes on yesterday's video. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Right, let's jump, shall we, into the chat box. Let's tackle some of your questions. Gunnar says, is it true that if Trossard is out for a long period of time, that we'll be in the market for a left winger? It's difficult, isn't it? Because Arsenal would like to sign a left winger this window, but the problem is that we were looking to sell one of the two because it would give us more financial freedom to be able to invest in that position. So if one is injured for a long time, which I don't think he will be, but hypothetically say if there was to be a serious injury to one of our left wingers and the window's still open, it would leave Arsenal in a difficult situation, and maybe they would look to do a loan instead. Hopefully not a Premier League loan, but they might need to look at the market for a loan with an obligation or an option to buy a better profile player than a Sterling situation. Again, hopefully we're not into that scenario again either. Charles says, Tom, with the way that White plays at right back and combine that with Saka when everyone is fit, who do you think Mikel will choose for the back four? Lewis Skelly, Gabby, Saliba, White, or Timber? Gabby, Saliba, White. Oh, sorry, I see what you mean. Lewis Skelly, Gabby, Saliba, or White, or Timber, Gabby, Saliba, and White. Timber has played left back, of course. I think Miles Lewis Skelly still very much is our left back. At the moment, I'll start at left back, and it will be between Timber and White, who starts at right back. But I think White will probably start the season, and then Timber will gradually fight for a place in the squad as well. Hamid says, do you think Palace would be open to a swap deal since they need players and they have to pay a sell-on clause for Eze? Arsenal could send Vieira, Lokonga and Nelson for Eze as well. It's something I'm sure that is being thought about, but the problem is that you need to have them to have interest in your players before you can ever think about doing any kind of swap move for players. Fulham, of course, are the most likely team to grab hold of Nelson this summer. The process is, Tom, is there a world where Noni Madueke signing becomes a stroke of genius by the club and we are all left with egg on our faces? I mean, yeah. And that's what we're hoping for, right? I think everyone should be hoping that Noni Madueke proves us all wrong, that have had our doubts. That's what we want to see. That's what we want him to do. And we'll be backing him all the way to prove us all wrong, right? Surely none of you can be sitting there and looking at your camera going, I really hope he doesn't prove me wrong because my opinion is worth more than my support of the club. Surely none of you are in that position, right? So you all want him to prove us wrong. Avinash says there were reports earlier that Eze's signing will be separate from a left winger option. Yes. However, for that one of Trossard or Martinelli would have to be moved. Who reported that? Who's that? Who reported that? Someone reported that, didn't they? I can't remember who it was. Let's go to Carlos says, TGT Loyals. We can help Tom achieve his and our daily goal by hitting the like button while we are waiting for the show to start. If Tom annoys us, it's easier to unlike. Look, while you're waiting for the show to start, why don't you press the like button? That takes up a couple of seconds, doesn't it, at your time? And then you wait for the sheave. It's the sheave. You know, I've said the sheave instead of the show because I'm about to read a question about sleeves. So I've said sheave while you wait for the show to start. But speaking of sleeves, Jabu says long sleeves or short sleeves in the third kit. Always short sleeves for me. We talked about this the other day. Always short sleeves for me, but it's personal preference. You pick what you want to pick. Cole says, is this the season Martinelli has to start adding more to his finishing and final ball distribution? He's a hard worker, but he can frustrate. I mean, I think it goes without saying, doesn't it, Carl? This is a huge season for Martinelli. He really does need to deliver this season, and hopefully he does, because if he doesn't, again, we're going to be in a situation where we're going to be asking questions about his potential future. Mr. Iguana says, why doesn't Arteta invert the right back and overlap the left back like in 23-24 when it was successful? Did we really invert Ben White in 23-4? I don't remember that happening too often. He always seemed to overlap, to be honest, Saka. And Saka's style suits more of a more traditional fullback. But I'd argue so does Martinelli. But he seems pretty married to the system of inverting from the left and pushing up from the right. Stu says, morning, Tom. Do you think it's a conscious effort to add more English players, including the youth coming through? It feels like we've got quite a lot, not complaining. I think there's definitely an importance of culture. And I think Arteta's been asked about English culture and the young players that are coming through. I think that's really important to have in the group. Let's see if I can find the quote for you. No, it's not that one, not that one, not that one. No, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it off the back of a quick Google search or not. But he definitely has talked about the importance of English players. But I can't find it off just the back of a quick Google search. I'm trying to do a quick one. No, everything that comes up is all about him saying that he would play for England rather than the specific English core. But he has spoken in the past about, Lewis Skelly, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe previously, Ben White in the group as well, previously Aaron Ramsdale, of course, and now bringing in through players like Lewis Skelly and Waneri. You've got Max Dowman, of course, England Youth International, signing Madueke this summer, another England international. Yeah, I think it is important to have an English core. I don't think it's about, sticking your chest out and getting all Brexit about it. I just think that, there is an importance to having that core. Not only is there, legislatory reasons to have it because of non-homegrown player allocations and so on and so forth. But I do think it is important to have kind of an English core as an English club. The same way I would think that for a Spanish core in a Spanish team. And that does tend to happen, and it's encouraged by the laws of the game as well. It's not like up there as the number one priority, but I think it is a principle, certainly, to have that English core. Carl says, Tom, how about the return of Wilshere? Yeah, there's been some smatterings yesterday. I think it was Team News and Ticks, wasn't it? That said yesterday that there's suggestions that Wilshere will be in negotiations to return as Arsenal's new under-21 coach. Of course, he was formerly the under-18s coach, and this summer we lost Mehmet Ali. I think he's gone to Brentford, and so they're on the lookout for a new under-21s coach. And Adam Birchall, of course, was the new under-18s coach. There were suggestions that maybe he would take that step up, but it looks that Jack Wilshere might be in with a return. He had moved, was it to Norwich, to be part of their backroom staff and part of their kind of senior setup staff there. But he was one of the coaches, I think, with Norwich. So he's apparently in the running to be Arsenal's new under-21s coach. Sammy Mokbel, of course, reporting that as well yesterday. So an interesting one. But yeah, Mehmet Ali, who left the under-21s role earlier this summer, joined Brentford under Keith Andrews, who replaced now Tottenham manager Thomas Frank. So yeah, interesting one. Interesting to see. It was Norwich, yes. Matthew says, morning, Tom. I think I would take a draw at Old Trafford if it offered right now. I really can't tolerate the meltdown, especially if Sesko plays. I'm not sure that a draw would necessarily prevent a meltdown. There's an expectation that if Arsenal are going to win the league, they need to beat teams like Man United away from home. They absolutely have to try and do that. So yeah, I'm not sure I would take the draw if he offered it to me now. I don't think I would. Lolu says White was inverted a lot more often before the overlapping. He's good at it, but he's not it's not his top strength. JC says, Tom, if Dowman gets any minutes this season in the Premier League, who does it come on for as a substitute? Probably, from the looks of it, Saka. We're seeing him come on the right-hand side. I would say that, Wineri being more central, Eze, if he comes in being a central figure, Madueke potentially being more thought of as the left-sided player if he gets more minutes there. It could be that Dowman gets opportunities there. If Madueke turns out to be an option more so for the left, even though he's been brought in to add depth to Saka's role, I do think that it's worth seeing that pathway through a potentially right-sided option for Dowman before in the future he moves into his more central position. Anthony says, Tom, I'm concerned about Calafiori. Another injury. Are we possibly seeing a Tommy 2.0? Great player, but always injured. The season has not started. Well, the sample size for us is too small. We've only got the one season to go for. Arteta has said that he thinks that he will be fine for the new season. So, yeah, I wouldn't be selling Kivior. That's for sure. I think that'd be a little bit naive to think about selling. I know that there's a price to do a deal at, but I still think it would be a bit naive to sell Kivior with how Calafiori keeps getting injured at the moment. But hopefully he'll be fine. It's just kind of a follow-on from some of the issues last season, but hopefully he can overcome those problems. That's the hope, at least. Shaq says, why are our players not attracting interest and bids? Newcastle, for example, is bidding for all sorts of attacking players. Why have they not bidded for Martinelli, Trossard, or Havertz? Arsenal aren't looking to sell Martinelli or Havertz, so I think they've probably sent out a bit of a thing across that. Trossard, on the other hand, Trossard currently injured, but is attracting interest. So of those three players, Trossard has attracted interest, but Arsenal aren't open to selling Martinelli and Havertz right now. That's the vibe we're getting right now, is they're not open to selling those two. Bassa says, good morning, Tom. If Arsenal can minimise this squad by making substitutions at the right moment, Arsenal can win at least 2 trophies this season. I hope you're right, mate. But yes, rotation and subs are going to be really key to Arteta's personal evolution as a coach this season, I think, and how he improves things too. Darbas says, Arteta seems to introduce the youngsters similarly to Wenger, where he plays them out wide before moving them more centrally. And I think that's because you get more protection in the wide areas. You're more exposed when you play centrally, and so it's much more comfortable to do that with players. And he could be doing that. Wineri and Lewis Skelly, they could have futures in the midfield, but you bed them in the wide areas before moving them more so into the middle. JC says, first time at the Emirates tonight and looking forward to hearing some new player songs maybe as well. I know that Gyökeres song has been doing that. I don't know how I feel about this Gyökeres song. It's quite tame. And I'm not saying I want songs to be rude. I'm just saying that it's quite poppy. I don't know if that's what I want from a Gyökeres. Gyökeres is meant to be an intimidating centre forward. Now, I quite like Gabriel's song. I think Gabriel's song has got verve to it. I'm not singing it for you, so no. You can go on Twitter and Google it if you like. But I think the Gabriel song, is quite good. But the Gyökeres song, it's a bit too poppy for me. I'm the one that's done the rounds anyway, and maybe the Emirates faithful and the lads and lasses that go to the away games will come up with more of an appropriate song. But the one I've seen about Gyökeres, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. No, I'm not singing it. You're not going to bully me into singing it. Arthur says, any bid for Lokonga yet? No, nothing that I've heard, mate. No, nothing at all. Honestly, it's like it's staggering how quickly you all jump onto things. it's staggering how quickly you do it. It is nuts to me. And he says, Tom, are you going to the game? Yes, I am indeed. I will be there. I'll be working, and I'm looking forward to get back into the Emirates. It's been a while. Looking forward to it. Chances not every player needs a chant. It's getting embarrassing that there's a new chant every single week. Sean really going in on the song makers today. I think if they're good, I don't particularly mind. It's when they're bad, the Saliba song. I can get on board with that because I think there's a satire too that I absolutely love about the Saliba song. I mean, when I was at that Bournemouth game where kind of it had its inception really, and the fans sung it for a good 45 minutes. That was great. I love that. The Odegaard one never really caught on, like the Chase the Sun, and I like it. I think it's a good chant for Odegaard, and I like the track as well as a drum and bass fan, and there's drum and bass versions of that song. But some of them aren't. We still sing like the Mikel Arteta song. I get annoyed that the Arteta song doesn't get tweaked with the players that play more often. So when we stopped playing Tierney, it didn't change to Zinni, and now does it change to Skelly? I guess it should change to Skelly, rather than Skelly at the back, Saka in attack, like maybe Saka rather than that, or Victor in attack, maybe Skelly at the back, Victor in attack. Yeah, maybe that could work, but it needs to change. I know Gabby still plays for us, but he doesn't play too often. He might not be playing too often next season. Dalman in attack, maybe one day. North London Forever. Steve says, Tom, you could not write the script, mate. First game of the Premiership, Gyökeres versus Sesko. Talk about adding a twist to the game. Yeah, I know. It's quite the narrative, isn't it? And it shows in some ways. Man United have bought. When you look at the signings they've made recently, they have gone down as signing young striker options in the last few years, and they've not worked out. You think about last season, Joshua Zirkzee signed, hasn't done that well. Season before that, Rasmus Højlund signed for a lot of money, didn't do very well at all. Scrolling down to other previous seasons, Ronaldo came back. Did all right. Nothing staggering, but did all right. Scrolling back a bit far, Edinson Cavani at Man United, again, didn't do particularly amazing. Odion Igalo, that signing was absolutely mental, wasn't it, really, when that got announced? Romelu Lukaku, huge signing, huge fee, didn't work out for them. The last centre-forward they signed, who I genuinely think did well, was probably Ibrahimovic. Anthony Martial, huge fee. Didn't really work out. But Zlatan's probably the only centre-forward they've signed permanently who actually did well, in recent memory that I can think back to. So Sesko is a huge... And it's if Sesko was to join a team, I remember that their agent came out and was saying, we're only going to move for a special project and a special coach. Now, I rate Ruben Amorim. I think Ruben Amorim is a good coach. And I think he's in a terrible situation at Man United. But to suggest that Man United is the special project for Sesko, I'd be looking at Newcastle as a better team to join than Man United. Personally, if I was a player right now, and Mbeumo did the same thing. If I was Mbeumo and Sesko, thinking that Isak's leaving this summer as well, I would be without a doubt looking. And this obviously has other ramifications as well for Isak, because if Newcastle don't get Šeško, are they going to be more open to the idea of letting Isak leave? Are they going to stand more staunchly on trying to keep it? I'm not sure that they would. I'm not sure that they would. People are saying that Cavani did better than I'm giving. 17 goals, 39 games, not too bad. Maybe I'm a bit harsh on Cavani. The second season he was there wasn't very good. 2 goals in 20 games, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we'll give him that first season, 17 goals in 39 games, but still, I think that the most successful forward signing for them over the last 10 years is probably Zlatan. I think I'm just looking back a bit further. Radamel Falcao in 2014-15. They really went inside some proper weird centre forwards, didn't they? Man United. You got Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Lukaku, and who am I forgetting as well? Have I mentioned Zlatan? Yeah, they've really signed some odds. Odion Igalo, that's some really odd decisions in the market. But I know shouting Ronaldo at me is not going to change my mind. I do think Zlatan's been the best centre forward they've signed over the last 10 years. But no. Lolu, are you some Ronaldo super fan or something? I never understand like the Messi Ronaldo super fans. They are very strange to me. Jack says, Tom, if United bring in Sesko and by the way, it's Messi's the answer. If United bring in Sesko and we don't bring in another forward signing, who has recruited better in the forward areas this window out of us or United? Well, United have brought in Mbeumo and Cunha. So you'd have to say them, right? If you're looking specifically at forward signings and we don't bring anyone else in, you're comparing Gyökeres and Madueke to Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo. You know, if I could swap Madueke and Gyökeres for Sesko, Mbeumo, and Cunha, I would. I don't think that's controversial, is it? I don't think that's controversial at all. If you were offered the opportunity to swap Gyökeres and Madueke for Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko, right as of right now, for Arsenal, by the way, and this doesn't mean that if they go on and don't do particularly well at Man United, that's not a valid point, because it's Man United, you know. Teams don't do well. The players don't do particularly well at Man United. So if Arsenal ended up signing Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko this summer, I think we'd be looking quite differently, wouldn't we, at our business? However, if you're asking me to choose between Gyökeres, Eze, and Madueke, or Sesko and Mbeumo and Cunha, then I'm sorry, I'm not swapping. I might do a little poll. What time is it? Yeah, we've got loads of time. Let's put a poll into that's quite a good poll, actually. So, would you rather? Who would you rather Arsenal signed? Question in the chat. So your questions are: we've got Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo, or Gyökeres, Eze, and Madueke. They're your two choices. Get voting on that poll. It's a really good question, Jack. You know, it's a really, really interesting point. But you take Eze out of it, they've had a better window than us in terms of forward signings. I mean, they've signed 3 players rather than 2 for starters. But if Arsenal are to get Eze, then woof. Great, brilliant signing. Eze's a better signing than all 3 of those players, in my opinion. Eze's better than Cunha, he's better than Mbeumo, he's better than Sesko. So, yeah, without a doubt, you know, in terms of just being a player, I know they're different positions, but just he's a better player than those guys. Everything Arsenal says, they got a better attack. That's about it. Once you break through their press into the middle, it's like chalk and cheese. I mean, Sesko isn't better now than Gyökeres, and Mbeumo isn't better than Saka. But Cunha is better than Martinelli, in my opinion. So at the moment, you could say, if you look at the starting front 3 of both teams, Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli, Mbeumo, Sesko, and Cunha, Gyökeres is better at this point in time than Sesko. I think Sesko has got the potential to grow into a better centre forward than Gyökeres one day, maybe not now, going Man United. You know, it's a place where young strikers go to fail. But yeah, in terms of just the window in itself, you're not putting Saka into it. Ryan says, we haven't even bid for Eze. Why are we all acting like he's joining? We are penny pinching. Right, that's not what's happening, mate. But believe what you want to believe, I guess. Greenweather says, come on, let's test the waters. Sing and see. Sing and see if we win it. Sign and see. Arsenal are certainly planning on trying to add further players, of course. But yes, talks have been held. But at the moment, they need to sell some players first before we make some late moves in the market. Joel says, what's the next evolution of our tech system? Can we expect more positional fluidity? It's about handbrake off, mate. That's what it is. It's about taking the handbrake off. That's what we want to see. Spearman says, he meant sing, Tom. Sing the chant. No, not happening. Not working. Izzy says, Tom, if Martinelli has a good season, I think we should sell him because I don't see him ever being good enough for him. It depends on his season, doesn't it? It depends on that season. If he has a brilliant season and scores 20-plus goals, you're not going to want to sell him, are you? Like he'll be only 25 at the end of the campaign, so you're not going to want to sell him after a 20-plus goal season. So maybe it's just that moment that he finally does kind of click for him. Jamie says, I think if he goes on longer, Parish will tell us to do one on Eze. Glasner is going mental and will quit if his best players are sold. This whole Glasner quitting thing, by the way, is not real. Ed Aarons did not report that. There's a fake account going around yesterday that kind of went a bit viral. So do always, whenever you see a tweet and somebody's kind of attached to it, like a journo's attached to it, first of all, check that it's actually the right person that is tagged or it's the right person that is tweeting. There's so much misinformation around at the moment. Misinformation in general is so rife. I did a tweet yesterday. I retweeted something yesterday, not football related, more politics related, but it goes to show you kind of how much misinformation there is around at the moment. It's crazy misinformation. It spreads like absolute wildfire. So be careful out there, people. Darbas says, if there is any update with the stadium expansion and upgrades, I seem to have missed the initial news about that, but not sure. Is it accurate about a 300 million upgrade? To my knowledge, Arsenal are like open to it, but there's a lot of logistical kind of issues and barriers with that. So I think the club are very open to it. I don't know how realistic it is that they're exploring it, but they are open to it if they can get over some of the hurdles. Gary says, that's a horrible poll, Tom. I prefer Gyökeres, but I prefer Mbeumo over Madueke, and I prefer Eze over Cunha stylistically, but I think Cunha has a profile that we have been missing. So it's a bit 50-50. So you're kind of like, you're very split on it. I think you've answered the question for yourself, though. If you prefer Eze to Cunha, I think that gives you your answer, doesn't it? And Gary says, do I trust Arteta to take the handbrake off? Yeah, I don't know. Hamed says, what was your politics tweet? Are you trying to get me in trouble, Hamed? I don't think it's that crazy. It is about a very controversial topic here in the UK at the moment, which is, of course, about immigration. But I'll read you the information, which is quite interesting. So in the year to March, 96% of migrants in the UK were legal, 44% were illegal. However, a YouGov poll said that 47% of people thought that there was more illegal immigration than legal immigration. But I'm not going to go into that because I'm not going to start talking about immigration in the chat. We're not that type of podcast. I just thought what was interesting is it's kind of a microcosm for how perspective about misinformation around like the idea that, and any topic, let's ignore the immigration side of things for a second, but like just for a second, think about that perspective. 4% is the fact, like that's the statistics. 4% of something, like 47 people polled on a topic thought that the 4% was bigger than the 96%. That's crazy. Like just in any topic at all, as I said, ignore the controversial side of what the topic is. Just absolute mental nature of how perception can be so different from what the reality is on anything because of what social media does to us. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, I'm started off people talking about it now in the chat box, which was not the idea. It was more about kind of the perception of statistics that shocked me the most. So let's bring it back to to football. Otherwise, I will start timing people out because I'm not having this conversation. Patrick says, I think you care too much about what other people think. I don't want to sound patronizing, but why care about stuff you can't control? People will think what people think. In what context, Patrick? Like what footballing context? What footballing context is that going to change? Because I'm curious. Like, if it's caring about what people think about people abusing players online, how people treat footballers online, that's something to care about. It's something to care about. Ensuring that misinformation does not spread is really, 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 really important. As I said, people, I will start timing people out for this topic. So I'm not entertaining it. I'm just purely using it as kind of an example of perceptions beyond reality. So keep your crazy views away from the chat for this topic. But when it comes to kind of caring too much, I care a lot about misinformation online and in football in particular. That's why we've done a whole show on the spread of misinformation on rumours this summer. So many rumours around Arsenal, so many rumours around transfers and wages and transfer fees. There's people at the moment that, and I know I've mentioned this before about kind of reporting euros and pounds and something like that, but I get that euros and pounds changes, but there's people that think that journalists genuinely report euros instead of pounds or pounds instead of euros for some kind of gain or to like influence the way something is viewed. Most of the time, like, you'll get a briefing. Like when a transfer is about to happen, what usually happens is that journalists can get briefed by the clubs on the details of a deal so that they can accurately report the transfer fee. So if they've given us euros or if they've given us pounds, that's what they will do. So, just it's nuts, kind of the conspiracy theories that you see kind of spread online. Robert says, Tom, can you pay at the door tonight? No, you'd have to get tickets, mate, online. I don't know if it's sold out yet. I think there were some tickets available the other day, but that's quite a little while ago. So yeah, I don't know. Nifty Legend says, Tom, any news on Nelson to Fulham? Ben Jacobs mentioned they were targeting Sterling. Well, Sterling's a right-sided player, and obviously Nelson's more of a left-sided player, so maybe they're looking at both of them. I don't think they would be particularly expensive deals, either of them. So, and they haven't really signed anybody yet either. So, it's worth looking. It's worth looking at that. And there are still tickets, says Paul. So yeah, you can go and get tickets. Claire says most report both euros and pounds. Exactly. And you can do the conversion rate yourself. Like, you can go online and check the latest conversion rates and do it yourself. There's not some great conspiracy about reporting euros and reporting pounds, and why people care so greatly about that is always baffling to me. Always baffling. I get people might get annoyed about how some clubs are perceived or some clubs are shown to be in a certain way, but you can do the work yourself. You can change the currency yourself. What I don't like is when people don't include when it's done purposefully, like in an opinion or a debate. Like when you're talking about Arsenal signing Madueke from Chelsea, an English player moving from one English club to another English club, and then people start using euros to try and inflate how much Arsenal have paid for him. That's different. That's a different type of conversation. But yeah, as I say, it's just one of those crazy conspiracy theories. Do you want to take a look at the poll, Tom? Yeah, I will look at the poll. Let's have a look at the poll. Let's see what people are saying. Wow. Okay. 86% of you say Jurrien, Eze, and Madueke. 14% of you say Sesko, Cunha, and Burma. So there you go. Incredible. Aoife says, Tom, did you see about Nottingham Forest reported a lower value, 12 million for a player they signed from a Brazilian club? The club then stated that the sale was 38 million. I haven't seen that. Send me the link to that. I'd love to give that a read. Chris says, Chris doesn't say anything. Chris has just become a brand new member of the channel. So thank you, Chris. Appreciate your kind support of us, and welcome to the crew. Trey Ab says, bet that 2-minute training video had a few giddy as well. I'm sure it did. Yeah, I mean, seeing Jurrien in training, Gabriel back, really positive. It was a really positive video to see, and to get people encouraged about the squad being back, Timber being back, Gabriel getting back, Jurrien being integrated, Madueke training. There's a lot of positivity from that video. So yeah, definitely. D says 14% of people are trolling in the poll. I don't know. I think some people genuinely will feel that way. There's always a little percentage you've got to account for. Always. I remember when we did that, like a score out of 10 for a window. Of like, if we signed everyone we've signed so far plus Eze, and I still think it was something like 20-something% to the people that still wasn't a 9 out of 10 window, which is, for me, in terms of incoming solely, is crazy. Cleo also joining up as a member. Thank you so much for your kind support. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. Is greatly appreciated indeed. Cam says, anyone see the training video? My God, did he even go on a holiday? I wish I could come back from one in that kind of shape. Yeah, I know. It's they do have personal trainers and they train every day, even though they're on holiday. They still stay fit, or you're supposed to stay fit. There's a relative expectation of staying in good shape. So yeah, you've got to rate it. Patrick says, really? I actually, as in who? Who are we rating? Actually rating who? Like Madueke or Cunha and Sesko and Burma? Trey says, Madueke starts on the left. I've come to accept it. Martinelli should just looks lost at the moment. I mean, I'm interested to see it because I kind of want to see Arsenal with a left footer on the left or a right foot on the right, just to see how it changes how we attack. I kind of want to see it happen. Yes, Jack, I will be at the game. Okoye says, I'm not going to lie, I'm very worried about Calafiori. We really should be planning to move on. I'm getting tired of players like this as well. I'm worried about it too. Mate. I'm worried about Calafiori's situation, of course, and I'm hoping that it's happening. Tyrell, I think you're just asking if I'm going to the game because I keep getting asked if I'm going to the game at this point. Jay says, I know it will be controversial opinion amongst some Gooners, but I am still a big fan of Martinelli. He is a great player, in my view. And that's fine. It shouldn't be controversial. Like, he is still a good player. He's just struggled for form. And that's the biggest issue that we've had with Martinelli. He has struggled for form. So, yeah, we have to be conscious of that fact. And conscious of that kind of reality as well. Avanesh says, what are the chances of Eze coming in through the door before the Liverpool game? I mean, Liverpool. When's Liverpool? When's that game? Is that right at the end of the window? It's August 31st. So the window only opens. I'd say if Eze is going to come, you'd expect him to be in there at that point. No. You'd hope that he'd be in by that point of the window. JC says, Tom, I'll meet you at the game tonight in shorts. Sorry, I need to do a weather check. Let's do a weather check on the game for later. Because at the end of the day, I stay longer than the game. So I've got to do the press conference, I've got to write my morning line, and then I've got to get the train home. And by that time, it's probably going to be like God 9 and will be a little bit colder. Let's see. Weather later is going to be sunny, 22 degrees until 5-6 o'clock. And then, to be fair, it's only meant to drop to like 18 degrees. It could be shorts weather, You guys might have a point. But wearing shorts into the press room, it's always something that leaves you a bit of glutton for punishment. So jeans might be uncomfortable, but it might be a professionality thing. We'll see. I have worn shorts there before. I just don't think I've done it in a long time. But yeah, maybe it is a shorts day. Maybe it's time for some shorts. I don't know. We'll see. You don't want to be the only guy in the press room that's got shorts on. I might text a couple of people. Don't want to be the only one wearing shorts. That's for sure. Martin says, Martinelli's superpower is running into space behind. The problem is that we rarely play teams that leave that space. I think that we don't create those opportunities, which is what my concern about Gyökeres has been. And I continue to say this because I'm concerned that Gyökeres' style hasn't fit. What we have to say about this is that maybe if we change our style and maybe if we move to a more transition-based system, that Martinelli could really benefit from that. So could Saka. I don't like that we're so dominant all the time. I know that Arteta kind of like loves the fact that we're so dominant, but it's not exactly been a slam dunk to success. It's definitely got us further up the table, but I think that if maybe we can change to something of a transitional system, or at least try and create more transition opportunities, it could really help a player like Martinelli. It really could, because we know that he thrives in those moments. We know he thrives in those situations. Martin, message me after the show, please, mate. Amberly says, I'd save the shorts for Saturday. Going to get hotter by the weekend. TJ says, it can get cold in Kent. It certainly can. And that's why I've got the jacket on this morning for this morning show. JC says, I want to see Gyökeres stretch the opposition defences and provide space for our wings. Amberly says, we did look like we were moving forward faster in the Newcastle game. And Joe says, Arteta was getting goals out of Marino. Surely Gyökeres will get them as well. Lolu says, City are dominant, but also good at creating opportunities in transition as well. They kind of have that. Yes, Martin, drop me a line. I just want to ask you about something. Doctor says, Man United have genuinely better attack than us on paper. We will start. We will see what they'll look like on the pitch, though, as well. Claire says, bloody Southerners complaining about being... Where are you based then, Claire? if you're not down south with us. I know we've got a few Northern Gooners in the chat box, but it is nicer weather down here. And I go up north a relatively regular amount, and the difference is So very telling. Like, it's so obvious how much colder it is up north compared to down south. Anton says, I think the key to unlocking Martinelli is getting an overlapping left back and a more creative left eight. But I realise that Declan is undroppable, and rightly so. Kevin says, I'm from the Isle of Sheppey. He's near my way, near Medway. That's where I'm from. So, Claire's from Yorkshire. How is it? Where's the Arsenal link come from then, Claire, if you're up Yorkshire way? Always curious how our northern, is it a case of moving up north, or because I know we've got a couple of Liverpool-based Arsenal fans as well in the chat box as well. Lolu says, is Midlands north? Anything north of Watford is north, mate. That's how it works. That's, if you're a southerner, anything above Watford, you're up north. Coventry's up north to me. You know, Cambridge is up north, Oxford's up north. Anything above Watford is north for us. That's how it works. Claire moved up north. There you go. Used to be from London. Harry says, oh, snap, I'm late. BRB, going to rewind the whole thing. Well, Harry, you're going to rewind and then realise we've read out your comment. Yeah, anything north of London is north, says Kevin. Indeed, that is how it works. Cleo says, Adrian Clark thinks that Gyökeres and Eze will exploit the space. Havertz and Martinelli necessarily don't do that as much. Is Luton north? Luton's probably more north than Watford, but Luton is technically a London airport, so probably not. But I think it's more north than Watford, isn't it? We're doing debates about how north things are now. This is where we've got to. We're part of the window now where we start doing Google map searches about how north places are compared to one another. Where's Luton? Luton. Oh, it might not be, you know. Directions from Watford to Luton, please. Okay, it's more north than Watford, damn it. Okay, maybe. I guess we can't go off the back of Watford, therefore being not as far. So anything above Luton, let's say that. Anything above Luton is not. Luton is it's a London airport, so you can't really count that. Ian says, you Southerners are all softies. We wear shorts from May right through to the end of September up here in Scotland. You're used to it, Ian. You were born with thicker skin than us. We haven't needed that thick skin like you have. It's anything above Luton, we're saying, is north now. Yeah, so I have to think about whether I want to wear shorts or not in 22-degree heat. And says, Tom, would it be wise to drop Rice for certain games if Eze comes in? Yeah, definitely. Or drop Zubimendi and move Rice into the number 6 role. That's what rotation's all about. That's what we've got to try and aim to do. It's making sure that we are fresher, making sure that we can, compete and and have variety. We've been talking about that word a lot recently. We need variety in the team. That's what we need to see for Arsenal. To be fair, a mate of mine, the guy I was best man for at a wedding, will wear shorts right up until December, to be fair, and he's from where I'm from. So it's not always the case where everyone down south wears shorts only in the summer. JC says, come on, Tom, I'll wear shorts if you do, and I'll meet you to have a picture and to prove it. Well, JC, I usually get to the Emirates about 2 hours before the game. So that's when I'm about the Armory-ish area, between 4 and 4:30. So 2 hours will kick off. Probably closer to 4 today. Although saying that, I have been starting to get the train into Drayton Park because I've found it's a lot easier. Usually I can time my tube to Highbury and Islington at the moment where the train arrives to go to Stevenage, where you can get the train to Drayton Park, and that makes the journey a bit quicker. But I'd still have to come through the Armory way because the media entrance is next to the Armory. Avinash says the teams will play more than 60 games now. They better drop the use of bench players whenever they can. We've got to rotate more successfully. We all know that. We all have to make sure that we've seen that. Greenweather says, Tom, can you see the nationality of those in the chat room from your computer screen? No. I mean, imagine that'd be a bit of a data breach, wouldn't it? If everywhere just showed you where you're based upon where you are in the chat box. George says, in Hawaii, I wear shorts all year round. Well, good for you, George. Good for you, mate. And I hope you're doing well, obviously, because I know that Hawaii has been suffering with a lot of tectonic issues recently. So let us know that you and your family and that are all safe, George. And I hope everything's going well, my friend. Avinash says the teams will play more than 60 games now. They better drop and use the bench players. I think we've kind of discussed that. I think we've touched upon it. Quick update on the poll before we wrap things up. 86% of you in the end have said that you would indeed, 85%, sorry, was the final number, would choose Gyökeres, Eze, and Madueke over Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo. I imagine there's probably something about that that's to do with the fact that one of them is who we might end up getting, but I do kind of get it. Kevin says, how can I get tickets? I've only been ever to a friendly game, and that was for Juventus. You have to go onto the Arsenal website. Let me see if I can. You have to have an Arsenal membership as well. Tickets. Watford, buy tickets for this game. How do we buy tickets? Memberships. Have I not renewed mine for this season? Find tickets. Hold on. Find tickets. There are currently no tickets available. Oh, I think it might have sold out. The ticket exchange toggle will appear only when the ticket exchange is live and tickets are available. Is there a ticket exchange for this? I don't think there is. Yeah, no tickets for tonight's game. Seems to have sold out, unfortunately. Maybe you can get tickets through the ticket exchange if you've been unlucky, but I don't know if there even is a ticket exchange for this game. So sorry about that. People did say that there were tickets left, but it doesn't seem that there are. Dallas says pre-game shows yet? I'm working, mate. I'll be there. I'll be working. So unfortunately, no pre-game shows. Alex says all polls before the transfer window here showed Sesko over Gyökeres. So does this not make sense? No need to even discuss Mbeumo and Madueke. Don't think one Eze overweighs the other two. I think it was a case of like individuality as well. So I think Gyökeres, Eze, and Madueke is because Eze for me is for me a one that outweighs the other two. Like Eze is for me. Eze is a world class player, and Mbeumo and Cunha aren't world class players. So that's kind of where I'm at on that front. So yeah, I think only one world class player is being signed by those two teams. So that swings it for me. Says, I believe Martinelli is still a valuable member of the squad. He works hard and always puts in a shift for the team, play to his strengths, and we'll see the best of him. And says, there were tickets last night when I got mine. There are about 5 left. Well, there you go. They're probably gone by now. And Paul says, I checked just over an hour ago and there were tickets, so they've just seemingly sold out. You can't get tickets at the ground, Patrick. No, that you can only get tickets online, and now that it has sold out from the looks of things, which is a good thing. You know, I want to see these friendlies sold out. You want to see these games sold out. It'd be a packed Emirates Stadium. A lot of people may be going to their first game or taking their kids to their first game. That's what's the great thing about these Emirates friendlies. It's a really good family atmosphere. And the pressure's off. So it's just kind of an enjoyable afternoon/evening. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting back to the Emirates and being there. Of course, if you're not able to go to the game, you're not able to watch the game for whatever reason, we'll be doing the minute-by-minute text commentary on the Football.London website. So you can follow the game and all the updates from the game on the FL website. So make sure you go and give that a watch. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and listening. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully, Arsenal can bring home the win and show off some really good performances. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? And yeah, looking forward to it. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.